You would never guess that a tiny island with only 3 people can explain some of the biggest questions in economics. Inflation, capital accumulation, economic growth, financial crises, and even why so many people work harder every year yet struggle to get ahead. The story begins with a fish, a fishing net, and eventually a printing press. By the end of the video, you'll understand why some societies become prosperous, while others fall into cycles of debt, inflation, and stagnation. Chapter 1. The Island of Survival. Somewhere in the Pacific Ocean lies a small island inhabited by 3 people: Abe, Ben, and Charlie. Their lives are simple. Every morning they wake up, walk to the shore, catch fish with their bare hands, eat what they catch, and go to sleep. Each person catches exactly 1 fish per day, just enough to survive. No savings, no investment, no economic growth. Their entire economy produces 3 fish a day, nothing more. At first glance, this seems like a primitive society. But in reality, many modern workers live surprisingly similar lives. They work every day. They earn enough to pay rent, buy food, and cover bills. But little remains at the end of the month. The challenge facing the islanders is the same challenge facing millions of people around the world. How do you escape the cycle of working merely to survive? Chapter 2. The Birth of Capital. One day, Abe has an idea. Instead of spending the day fishing, he decides to build a fishing net. The decision comes at a cost. If he spends the day making the net, he won't catch any fish. That means going hungry. For an entire day, Abe works while receiving no immediate reward. Ben and Charlie think he's crazy. Why sacrifice today's meal for an uncertain future benefit? But Abe continues. By sunset, he finishes the island's first fishing net. The next morning, he takes it to the water. Instead of catching 1 fish, he catches 3. His productivity has tripled. For the first time, he produces more than he consumes. This is one of the most important moments in economics. Abe has transformed labor into capital. The fishing net is more than a tool. It is productive capital. It allows 1 hour of work to generate more output than before. This simple idea lies behind nearly every increase in human prosperity. Factories, computers, tractors, industrial robots, artificial intelligence. All are modern versions of Abe's fishing net. They allow people to produce more value with the same amount of effort. Chapter 3. Delayed Consumption. Most people focus on the fishing net, but the real lesson comes before the net is built. Abe had to sacrifice present consumption in order to create future production. Economists call this saving. Without saving, there can be no investment. Without investment, there can be no capital. Without capital, productivity remains stagnant. This principle applies just as much to individuals as it does to entire nations. Every prosperous society has historically invested heavily in productive assets. Infrastructure, education, technology, energy systems, manufacturing capacity. These are society's fishing nets. The countries that continuously build them tend to grow richer over time. The countries that neglect them often struggle. Chapter 4. Credit and Expansion. As the weeks pass, Abe becomes increasingly productive. Soon he owns several fishing nets. He catches far more fish than he can eat. For the first time, a new problem appears. Surplus. Fish spoil quickly. Keeping them serves little purpose. So Abe offers a deal. He lends some of his extra fish to Ben and Charlie. In return, they agree to repay slightly more fish later. With food available, Ben and Charlie can spend time building their own nets. Soon the entire island becomes more productive. Daily fish production rises from 3 fish to 18. No miracle occurred. Nobody discovered treasure. No one worked 6 times harder. The economy expanded because productive capital spread throughout society. Credit, when used to finance productive investment, can accelerate growth. It allows resources to move toward activities that increase future output. In this case, lending fish helped create more fishing nets. Everyone became better off. Chapter 5. The Invention of Money. As production grows, trade becomes more complicated. Fish are inconvenient. They spoil. They're difficult to transport. They're hard to divide into precise amounts. So the islanders create a new system. They issue fish certificates. Each certificate represents ownership of one fish. These certificates become widely accepted. Soon people use them instead of carrying actual fish. Money has arrived. Importantly, the certificates themselves are not wealth. The fish are wealth. The certificates merely make exchange easier. This distinction is critical. Money facilitates economic activity. But money is not the source of economic prosperity. Real prosperity comes from producing valuable goods and services. The certificates simply help coordinate those exchanges. Chapter 6. The Temptation. For a while, the system works perfectly. Then the island leaders notice something. Creating new fish certificates is much easier than catching fish. A dangerous idea emerges. What if they issue more certificates than there are fish? First, the results seem wonderful. People have more money. Spending increases. The island appears richer. Celebrations begin. Confidence rises. Everyone feels wealthier. But beneath the surface, nothing has changed. The number of fish remains the same. Only the number of certificates has increased. Soon prices begin to rise. A certificate that once bought a large fish now buys a smaller one. Later, it buys only half a fish. The certificates are losing purchasing power. This is one of the fundamental mechanisms behind inflation. When the supply of money grows significantly faster than the supply of goods and services, each unit of money may purchase less than before. People often blame rising prices on individual businesses. Sometimes businesses do contribute. But inflation at the economy-wide level usually reflects deeper monetary and production realities. The problem was never the fish. The problem was the growing number of claims on the same quantity of fish. Chapter 7. The Illusion of Wealth. The island continues issuing certificates. For a while, prosperity appears to accelerate. People buy larger homes, more luxurious boats, more expensive clothing. Consumption explodes, yet productivity barely changes. The island begins mistaking spending for wealth creation. This confusion is common throughout history. Consumption can make an economy look healthy for a period of time. But long-term prosperity depends on production. A society cannot consume what it has not first produced. Eventually, reality catches up. The island discovers that financial claims can grow much faster than real output. But only real output sustains living standards. Chapter 8. Cheap Credit. Concerned about slowing growth, the island's leaders introduce another policy. They encourage extremely low interest rates. Borrowing becomes easier than ever. Credit expands rapidly. At first, investment increases. But something unexpected happens. Many people stop borrowing to build productive assets. Instead, they borrow to purchase existing assets. Housing prices soar. Boat prices soar. Land prices soar. Speculation becomes more attractive than production. The smartest people on the island are no longer trying to catch more fish. They're trying to predict which asset will rise in price next. Resources gradually shift away from productive activity. The island appears richer, yet its productive foundation weakens. This pattern has appeared repeatedly throughout economic history. Asset booms often create the illusion of prosperity. But rising asset prices alone do not increase society's productive capacity. Only investment in genuinely productive activities can do that. Chapter 9. The Crisis. Eventually, a few islanders become nervous. They start exchanging their certificates for actual fish. Others follow. Soon everyone wants real fish instead of paper claims. The island faces a classic crisis of confidence. There are far more certificates than fish. The mismatch becomes impossible to ignore. Panic spreads. People rush to redeem their certificates. The system cannot meet the demand. Prices collapse. Asset values plunge. Businesses fail. Unemployment rises. The apparent wealth of previous years disappears. What seemed like prosperity was partially built on expectations that could not be sustained. Economic crises often feel sudden. In reality, they usually develop slowly beneath the surface. The collapse merely reveals imbalances that have existed for years. Chapter 10. Starting over. After the crisis, the islanders gather to reflect. What actually creates wealth? Was it the certificates? The spending? The speculation? The answer becomes clear. The true source of prosperity was never the paper. It was always the fishing net. It was always productive capital. The ability to create more value with the same amount of effort. A new generation emerges. Instead of chasing quick gains, they focus on building productive assets. Some improve fishing equipment. Others learn new skills. One group experiments with agriculture. Another develops better storage systems. Trade expands. Productivity rises. Living standards improve again. This recovery is slower than the artificial boom. But it is real. And because it is real, it lasts. The lesson. The island may be fictional. Lessons are remarkably real. The principles that govern a 3-person island also influence entire nations. Money matters. Credit matters. Financial markets matter. But none of them can replace production. Real wealth is created when people build things, invent things, solve problems, and improve productivity. The most valuable asset any person can own is not a stock certificate, a currency, or a lottery ticket. It is the ability to create value. That ability can take many forms. Knowledge, skills, technology, businesses, tools, relationships, experience. These are the modern world's fishing nets. So the next time you hear discussions about inflation, interest rates, recessions, or economic growth, remember the island. Remember Abe. Remember the fishing net. Because beneath all the complexity of modern economics, the fundamental question remains surprisingly simple. Are we creating more real value than before? The answer to that question determines the future of individuals, businesses, and nations alike. And in the long run, productivity, not money, is what drives prosperity.